In today's video, I show you how I made a sci-fi diorama of castaways on a strange planet. Using a variety of materials, tools and techniques, I create a scene that ties in with a short story about the crew of Galaxy Cargo, which I wrote a while ago. But more about that later in this video. Welcome to the Geeky Workbench. This living module is scratch-built from styrene, and if you want to know how I made it, check out this video. I'll put the link in the description. This spaceship was printed by PCBWay. They approached me and offered to 3D print an item for me for free that I could use in a project. Of course, I chose a spaceship. The process is really easy. I went to their website and first chose 3D printing as the service I needed. Then I uploaded my STL files. There is a variety of materials to choose from, and I decided on white resin. After a short while, all the pieces arrived safely and well wrapped. All the pieces had great quality and a really nice finish. They were ready to assemble right from the box. In the story, there is a cargo robot that the crew take with them to the strange planet. You can see how I built it in this video, which I will also link in the description. But for this diorama, I needed a smaller version of it to match the scale. And let me tell you, recreating and shrinking something from scratch you already made from scratch is harder than I thought. For my crew members, I wanted to try something new and create them myself using Heroforge. It's a website where you can build your own miniature figure with a wide variety of options. You can even pose the figure the way you want. And I love this feature because now I can create a more realistic and lively scene. I bought the STL file and printed them myself, but you could also have them printed for you. This is the crew of Galaxy Cargo. And they have also already made an appearance in a project, but in a much smaller scale. This video was the beginning of their story and I will link it below if you want to check it out. Their outfits are painted to match the smaller versions. A completely different crew was painted for me by my friend Martin, known as Cybart on Instagram. He's a great miniature painter and I love the work he did on these figures. Links to his page and to the STL files in the description. And I decided I needed one last figure to add to the scene, so I made another one in Heroforge. Now it's time for the story. I will briefly summarize the events that led up to the scene shown in this diorama. You can hear the full story in parts 1 and 2, which are linked in the description. Kiki, Jules and Pete are the crew of Galaxy Cargo. Their latest mission brought them to the strange and distant planet X1M2. It was believed to be uninhabited, and the rumor is that many have tried to land here, but either had to abort or crashed. And these stories were enough to make them want to explore this mysterious planet and possibly salvage useful or valuable things from the shipwrecks. In preparation for the mission, they didn't get the exploration rover they had hoped for. Instead, they got an entertaining little compact cargo unit which wanted to be called Coco. Shortly after they had landed on X1M2, they experienced something like a small earthquake and fell into what they first believed to be a hole in the ground. But the team soon found out it was a spacecraft that had somehow sunken into the ground. Inside the wreck they found clues of whose ship this might have been, and we learn about the humanoids, which are a wide group of aliens that have evolved on other planets similar to Earth. After a while they managed to get out of the wreck and continued their exploration of the desert-like planet with its reddish-orange sand and warm winds. Up until this point they believed this planet to be uninhabited. This is when Kiki and her team realized they weren't alone here. In the distance they saw structures that couldn't be of natural origin, and this is when the scene of my diorama takes place. As they came closer to the rocky plain, they noticed ship parts sticking out of the ground, some small and some bigger than themselves. There was even a whole starfighter which seemed to have crashed here. Next to it they saw a greenish module which was covered in orange sand, but otherwise seemed intact. But there was no ship from which it could have been deployed. Instead, they saw 3 dome-like structures next to the weathered and worn living module. Pete looked at his pad and shook his head in disbelief. He couldn't find anything in the database about anyone actually living here. Judging by their appearances, the humanoids looked like they might be from different planets. 3 of them had prominent head features, greenish skin, and big 2-fingered hands. One had tentacle-like arms and a cone-shaped head. And one was taller than all the others and had dark skin with strangely glowing marks. When the crew came within talking distance, they stopped. Jules stayed behind a little, one hand close to her blaster. She was the cautious one. Kiki got out her comms device and switched to translation mode. She waved and greeted the humanoids. The one with the tentacle arms seemed to be in charge and was the first to speak. It wasn't anything like Kiki and the others had heard before. The sounds that came out of the humanoid's mouth reminded them of waves crashing onto the shore, but with a melody. They were mesmerized. A moment after the tentacle person had spoken, Kiki's device pinged and translated what they had just heard. Her name was Tunuvi, and she greeted them and asked where they were from. Tunuvi seemed to be able to understand what Kiki said. This is what Kiki understood via the translation. Tunuvi's group was actually from different planets. They were on a joint research mission, but had got lost somewhere on their way. This was not the planet they were supposed to land on. And they didn't actually land, but crashed here. Just before they hit the ground, they managed to deploy a living module and a few research pods in which they escaped. Their ship, however, crashed, and what was left of it sunk into the ground shortly after. This was a phenomenon the researchers had observed in the sandy areas of this planet. Only the rocky areas seemed to be fairly stable. When Kiki and her crew heard this, they thought of their own ship, which they had landed inside a crater. Depending on the soil inside the crater, they could now either be a way home for Tunuvi and her group, or become castaways themselves. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little story too. If you did, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you have ideas for the names for Tunuvi's research team, let me know in the comments. Until next time, geeks!